All right, Spurs fans, we are back. The Spurs are a quarter of a way through their season, but how are they doing so far, and what is the problem they're having at home? Welcome to the Spurs Roundtable, powered by Project Spurs. I'm your host, Steven Anderson, along with two newbies, guys. We got some newbies here. It's Victoria Villarreal and Colin
Beckendorf.
Yeah. I'm not butcher his name, guys, I'm telling you. And it's Christmas time, so we're all festive in our warm weather. Is freezing outside, but it's never, when the Spurs are playing hot, it doesn't even feel cold. So the Spurs guys, they started the season at home not as hot as we were used to seeing them. Last season they went 40-1. This time they've lost 4 games already. So Victoria, let's come to you first. What do you think the problem is at home?
I think there's a little bit of overconfidence going on. I see them, and it's kind of like, I think about, of course, last year we had an amazing home season, 1 loss the entire year. But I think that I'm not really concerned about it because I know they're an amazing road team this year, and the mistakes that they're making in those losses, they're kind of, minor mistakes somewhat. And I think one of those games was to a top team. The other one's kind of, we've lost to some below 500 teams. So I think I'm not too worried about it. I think that compared to other years, aside from last year, this year is still pretty great, even with the 5 losses.
All right, Colin, so the guys are having trouble at home, they can't seem to finish games. Kawhi, or I think Pop even said, you know what, when they're on the extended road trip, we don't want to go home. But unfortunately, we have to. So what do you think it is about being on the road and versus being at home that they can't really grasp to play the same way on either side?
Well, I think, last year they were first in defense. They had a historically good defense. And this year, they're relying a whole lot more on their offense, especially up front with LaMarcus Aldridge and Pau Gasol.
Yes.
And the 4 teams that beat them, when you look at them, at first you'll assume that it's the Magic that is the odd ones out. Why did they lose the Magic at home? But when you look at it, and you look at the group and kind of who they've lost to the Jazz, the Rockets, the Clippers, and the Magic. And when you look at that, you realize it's the Rockets that are the odd one out. The Magic, the Clippers, and the Jazz all have great defensive ratings, and they'll have really good big men, both defensively and offensively. And I think that's where the hang-up is coming, is like at the rim there. And we haven't played teams like that on the road yet. We played the Jazz again, and we beat them. But we're playing more of those teams at home. And I think the Rockets are showing now that they are kind of sniffing that top tier. They beat the Warriors. They set the record for the most number of threes attempted in a game at 61, I think. So they're no slouch either, but I think a lot of it has to do with us figuring out that front court. There's still a lot of questions there on offensive and the defensive side.
Well, one thing you mentioned is that the offensive and defensive side, and the Spurs defense is worse at home than it is on the road. So what I'm wondering, is we all know Pop loves resting his guys, right? He rested LaMarcus Aldridge recently. He rested Pau Gasol. He hasn't rested Kawhi as much. But do you think because that chemistry, we have 7 new players. So with that chemistry going on, do you think that because he's resting those guys, is preventing that chemistry to form, Colin?
I do think so, a little bit at least. Because with Pau and LaMarcus especially, last year Duncan was still the defensive force that he's always been, but Pau is a different player offensively. He has the ball in his hands more, he can score more, and as soon as LaMarcus got used to playing with Duncan, now he's having to get used to someone else like that, and I think that kind of has hurt his rhythm a little bit. I think he's starting to get it. We saw that at the end of the Suns game, but resting him I don't think does any favors in that regards, even if he needs it. And then Parker's been out a lot, but it hasn't been rest. It's been that he's just been hurt, and so it's hard when the guy who's supposed to be kind of initiating a lot of your offense from the point guard position, even if he's not going to be the one scoring as much, is not there. And you're kind of relying on Nico or Patty a little bit more.
All right, well, you mentioned Pau Gasol, and obviously we know Tim Duncan retired after 19 seasons in the NBA. The Spurs brought over Mr. Gasol as his replacement next to LaMarcus Aldridge. So, Vicky, how do you think he's fitting in so far?
I think he's fitting in incredibly well. I think that going from last year, we lost Tim Duncan, we got rid of a few other of our big men. I think pulling in Pau Gasol, who's an amazing veteran, a great player, he's really fitting in offensively. He's doing amazing. He's already set the record for the most threes by a 7-footer. So I think that he's really fitting in. He's become a leader. And of course that fits. He's, 36 years old. He's going to be one of the top veterans that the younger guys look up to. But I really feel that he's taking that onto the court, and he's showing his leadership as the center.
All right, Colin, you know, one thing that we talked about earlier was Pau Gasol and LaMarcus playing with him.
Right.
Well, you have Pau, who has struggled a little bit, and obviously when you come to a new team, that's going to happen.
Of course.
But when you see Pau, you know, putting up 5 points, 8 points, and he doesn't score at all in one game, you know, that leaves fans to be like, oh, well, why did the Spurs even get him? He's too old. So do you think those criticisms are fair?
I think it'll take some time for him to get used to the offense. I don't think they're completely valid yet. Let's look at it again in March. You know, in March, if it's the same thing, then maybe we can hear these talks a little bit more. But it does take some time.
Exactly.
And
Like
Aldridge
DeMarcus.
himself said, you know, this is the most complicated defense I know of in the NBA. And so you're trying to use your offense, but you're learning the new defense. It's not easy to learn all of that at once. So I think give him some time. Aldridge went through the same thing at the beginning of last season too, where he had a couple 4-point game, 5-point games. He deleted his Twitter, then all of a sudden he got really good. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Victoria, you wrote a great article on ProjectSpurs.com about how the Spurs have struggled in the early part of the season, but now they've gotten better. So what have you seen from the Spurs that you've liked recently?
Well, mid-range shooting. Well, that's kind of been the whole season. They are the best mid-range shooting team at this point. I think 32% from mid-range, which is not what we're used to from the Spurs. Usually, you know, last year, a couple years before, we would see them going up to the rim. They were constantly, you know, paint shots. But now I think with them in the mid-range, they're getting a lot better. They're also doing, defensively, they have not improved. They've not reached my level of where I'm okay with them. But three-pointers are amazing. Their passing is their biggest improvement. Lately, like, you know, you're watching and you see them pass multiple passes per possession. So you see, instead of, you know, a couple of times I've seen Kawhi, who's amazing, sometimes he'll actually play the point and he's going to just, you know, go up and make a shot, which goes in. But still, I like seeing the passing. I like the Spurs game when they're passing. And lately it's been really good. I think having a lot of European players helps with that because that's their style of play. So with Bertans getting used to it too. He's getting, you know, kind of being brought in a little bit more. And you're seeing his passing, his really quick, awesome, confusing possessions where the defense kind of just doesn't know where to look. That's
You
where
agree?
Oh yeah. And then David Lee too, who's been passing great. He's been a surprise. I remember people were thinking, what are the Spurs doing? They're supposed to be getting younger. So yeah, the passing has been great, and that's another one of Pau's strengths as he gets more comfortable. So it's really exciting. Like that's what I've been really interested in. Is last season they came in and they're on fire. Everything was great, and this season it's going to be a process to get there.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, Tim Duncan's jersey retirement is on Sunday, and with that comes a lot of tears, I'm sure, from you, and a lot of memories for the Spurs and, of course, the players and all the fans of San Antonio. So I might go to both of you. I start with ladies first, Victoria, and then I'll say mine last. Victoria, what is your favorite Tim Duncan memory?
Well, actually, I had a really hard time. I talked to you about this, about how so many memories. But actually, mine is from going to a game, actually. At the Alamo Dome, when we used to go to the games afterwards, you would go and wait outside for the Spurs to leave in their cars. And I remember waiting there, and you're seeing all these Spurs leaving, you know, BMWs and Lincolns and, like, really, you know, good cars. And then out comes Tim Duncan in, like, a Chevy Avalanche. And I was just like, what? Why does he have a plastic truck? Like,
Colin, real quick, what's your favorite one?
I think, you know, it's kind of what have you done for me lately, but the whole 2014 playoffs. Everything about that image of him on the podium at the finals afterwards. All about that.
Mine would have to be whenever 2005 Spurs won their first title, and without David Robinson, so it kind of like cemented him in there. But you know what, guys? Tell us your memories. Go to ProjectSpurs.com and tell us what your favorite Tim Duncan memory is, and don't forget to watch his retirement ceremony on Sunday after the game against the New Orleans Pelicans. But Victoria, Colin, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
To everybody, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that. And for everybody here, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time on the Project Spurs Roundtable.